Welcome to this Food Innovation Talk presented to you by Danish Food Cluster. I have been looking very much forward to this episode, where we will talk about one of the most hot topics and main trends of the food sector at the moment. Today, we are visiting AAK's headquarters in Malmö in Sweden. As you can see, we are here with a lovely view. And AAK have more than 140 years of experience working within the plant-based food segment. And today we will bring you insights with two experts from this company to learn more about this emerging field. This episode is presented to you in collaboration with Food Supply. I'm sure that many of you watching have different perspectives or opinions on this topic. And therefore I will encourage you to ask your questions and send your perspectives to us directly. You can fill in the form right next to the video, and then we can bring in your perspectives into this discussion. So please do it now or in the beginning of this video. And now I am very happy to introduce the two experts here from AAK, Henning Villassen, Global Business Development Director, and Nevin Belul, Global Business Development Manager, both from AAK, as I said. And to begin with, Henning, I would like to ask you, we see a big change going on for the moment in this field. What is driving these changes within the plant-based food segment?
Yes, I would say that it's actually rather a revolution than an evolution right now. It's really over the last year we have seen dramatic changes in what consumers are wanting to eat, their preferences. It started, if you go maybe 10 years back or more, that you had the vegan offerings, you had the vegetarian possibilities, and you had actually at that time to go and search in the retail for finding the product you were wanting to buy. That has today, you see it on the front end in all retails. You see everybody talk about this, and you see it's very much a European, American, but that's a global trend now. We see it also in many of the other regions in the world, a little bit different in the way it's coming through. But for sure, it's there, and the big game changer were when this consumer group of flexitarians came, because flexitarians are the ones which are one day vegan, one day vegetarian, another day they prefer meat. So that's the background, and you can say what is actually the underlying driver. There are two very, very important drivers. That is health. People want to have a healthy option. They're concerned about their health. They want to stay healthier for longer, have a healthy lifestyle, live longer. And the second and equally important driver is sustainability. Today, consumers actually consider what they eat having a impact on the environment. They notice and they realize that the footprint of what they're eating is an important way where they can actually give a contribution to minimizing the impact on the environment. So these are the two main drivers. But once that is said, I think it's also important to remember a thing like, for instance, animal welfare is also contributing to this. So when you reduce your meat, you buy a more expensive solution maybe, and then the other days you go vegan. So there is also that element. And then finally, I would like to highlight the personalization trend, because today's consumer wants to be on Instagram. They want to position themselves. They want to brand themselves with what they're eating. And there, the good story about what they are eating are becoming extremely important. And that's also why we see a lot of different options emerging these years. It's not one option, it's multiple options. There are many, many startups creating new and exciting and innovative products in the market, all based on plants.
Interesting. Looking at the market from your perspective as a global company, how are typical plant-based consumers characterized?
Yeah, that's a good question. And I would say also difficult to answer. What we have seen in the last 1 or 2 years is that the consumer group has gotten broader and broader, and I think much more than anticipated, and what it used to be, as Henning mentioned, with the vegans and vegetarians, and now it's much broader than that. But if I should take two examples, and perhaps the ones that are really in the front seat of driving this change, we have the millennials and also Generation Z. And if we should look at a typical millennial, we will say hi to Anna. She is 32 years old. She was introduced to social media during her late teenage years, and she's very active online. And the most important marketing channel for her and what she is influenced by is very much the virtual word of mouth. So it is, of course, online, but most of it comes from what her friends are posting or friends of friends, and that is very much what she's influenced by. Also, her generation, the millennials, they're characterized by being the most educated group so far. So this also means that she does a lot of research. She reads a lot online, and this has also led to that she has now actively taking a choice to reduce her meat and dairy intake. And this is very much due to both the health reasons and also the environmental reasons. So that is why she have chosen to be a flexitarian. And then if we look at the generation that comes after her, which is also driving this, we have Generation Z. And there we have Alex. Alex is born in 1998. And for him, I guess, well, he probably doesn't remember life before social media. He spends 5 hours or more online every day. And he actually does a lot of the purchasing online as well. So there is where he does the majority of his both shopping and also actually the food that he eats. Alex is vegetarian. He aims at eating vegan at least once or twice a week, but he finds it a bit challenging with the options there right now, but he thinks that it's improving. And also, I think probably the most interesting thing is how will these two groups influence the future? Because if we just look at 2025, we can see that Anna's generation, they will have tripled their buying power to 600 billion American dollars. And Alex, his generation, will make up 25% of the workforce. So these groups will no longer just be consumers, but also actually taking the decision at the companies, also driving this change. So that will be interesting to follow.
And these two characters, Anna and Alex, could be a theoretical issue, but have you actually met those guys?
Yeah, I would say I've met a lot of Alex and Anna. I also have them very close by here in my hometown, Malmö, but also even more so perhaps in London, and when we visited Brooklyn, in Williamsburg last year, we could see a lot of these, both millennials and Generation Z. And I think what was interesting, at least in Williamsburg, where they're really taking the front seat of this change, is that it's no longer only about the, you can say, health, which a lot of people associate the plant-based foods to, but you could even see vegan fast food restaurants and vegan American diner type.
And you can see, I would say you saw a whole community changed into where plant-based just is what you can get, and it's a natural part of the daily life. It's really interesting to see how it has become from being a niche to really being a mainstream thing now.
Yeah.
It's a given.
Exactly.
Yeah. And looking into this segment and this market, which role does AAK play in this evolving market?
We are having a very important part of that, you can say, because fat is a very essential part of all these type of products. So from that point of view, and a lot of functionality when you look into the different types of food are actually, fat is very important for that. So of course, depending on what fat you choose, you actually can improve. Because I think for in the beginning, it was very much about obtaining an acceptable taste that a lot of products have achieved today, and their fat plays an important role to achieve that. But even further strengthen and develop new products, their fat is one of the ingredients. Of course, together with flavors, with proteins and all the other things. It's not only fat, but fat is a very important thing. And an interesting thing is also that fat is considered not a bad thing anymore. It's actually a provider of health if you eat the right type of fat. So that's where we come into the picture, I would say.
Yeah. And going a bit further, how do AAK? You have I know you have a diagram to show.
Exactly. There is a you can say when you look at what is taking off, what is happening in the retail right now, how is the growth in the market, and there we have chosen today to take one study, and there is a lot of whenever you open your computer, there is almost a new publication in regards to market size and growth, and here we have taken a study from the Plant-Based Food Association, which are built on Nielsen data. So that actually means that it's what comes out the retail. So it's very valid data, and there you can see the growth rate is enormous. Compared 17 to 18, you have a 20% in 18 in regards to people who choose a plant-based option, compared to a 2% growth in the more standard category. And one interesting part is that for quite some time within the dairy space, the milk category has been there for quite some time, soy milk, almond milk, and so on. And even there we see still a tremendous growth, even though it's one of the more old categories. And you also see that the dairy milk is declining. And then until recent, meat was more the newcomer. I would say the last 2 years it has really been the thing everybody talks about, and you see a lot of burgers being launched right as we speak, plant-based burgers, and that is also reflected in what you see is sold in the retail, a 24% increase in last year. And so all in all, you see tremendous growth rates, and that's also why we see all the retailers, all the big companies, the small companies, the medium-sized companies, even the traditional dairy companies and the traditional meat companies are now having a plant-based strategy where they're trying to figure out what is their position in this market, because the consumers are today choosing. They are deciding what they want to buy and what they want to have.
Exactly.
So that's really reflected, I think. We see that very clearly in the numbers.
Yeah, and I think we see it both companies starting up only focusing on plant-based foods, but also we see that bigger established companies are also looking into how they can adapt to this change and also take part of this market. So there are also different types of companies that we see play an important role.
So the dynamic is really very, very agile, flexible. Companies need to I think it's the most flexible time ever. You really need to be very tuned into the market and being able to react immediately.
Yeah.
Exactly. Yeah, and I think we can also see that when we're looking at, of course we follow this segment very closely, and I think we see news every day popping up.
Yeah.
New headings, both when it comes to companies and also when it comes to celebrities and influencers. We could see recently Serena Williams investing in Impossible Foods. So it also says quite a lot about
and then again, you
segment.
use that for profiling.
Yeah.
She does that also for
Exactly.
profiling herself. So the food becomes something totally different. It's not only nutrition; it's also what you can label yourself, how you can market yourself.
Yeah.
So that's really very pronounced these years.
Yeah.
Exactly.
That might relate to the two characters that you mentioned, Anna and Alex.
Yes.
Who are working on these new medias, which wasn't at place 20 or 30 years ago.
No.
Yeah.
When I started in the food business being a B2B, we never considered reaching consumers. But that's the world today.
Yeah.
And that's also why we're sitting here, because we actually also can see we can tell a good story in that connection.
Yeah.
And,
Exactly. And I also think with these consumer groups, as we talked about, they're very much online, and that is also why things are happening really fast. And we can just take, if we look at Generation Z and Alex, which we talked about, another one in his generation is Greta Thunberg, which I don't think anyone has missed right now. So she has been able to influence a lot of teenagers by just being active online, and even politicians. So it also says quite a lot about that it's in the world we're living,
it's
and
a
how
new
things
reality,
are happening.
and the
Exactly.
food industry needs to adjust to that, and they are really running for that, and we feel that as an ingredient supplier also, and of course we also need to be on the forefront when it comes to this. And then there you can say we are a plant-based company and been for more than 140 years, so it's part of our heritage actually. So that's a good place.
Yeah, and that might give you a stronghold in this market,
Yes.
as you have these many years of experience from working with these ingredients,
Yes.
Exactly.
knowing how they react and the potential.
Exactly. And all the good stories there also are in this. Our whole sustainability program, how we strive towards also to lift the barrier for how we can raise our contribution to that into the world's. Today.
Exactly. Yeah. So I think it's both, of course, having the heritage from the plant-based parts, as you mentioned before, more than 140 years of experience within that field, and I also think it's very much the way we work with our customers. So we are the co-development company, which means that we really work in close partnership with our customers, and that has also, we have learned one thing or two by doing that for the last couple of years. And also actually, as we talked about, that fat can make a difference within different areas. And when we look into maybe the most important ones, or where we can make the biggest difference, we have identified 6 different focus areas for AAK. And I think one of them you mentioned, Henning, the health part.
Yeah.
So you don't consider fat as the enemy, but it's more about choosing the right type of fat. Also sustainability, which we have talked about, both the environmental aspect and also social aspects. And for this segment and for these consumers, sustainability is very high on the agenda. Also, of course, sensory. There is increasing competition in this space, so it also means that when a consumer buys a product, it should taste good, because otherwise next time you will try a different brand. So this is also an area where it's really important and where we work closely with our customers.
Exactly. I think consumers or many of our customers says that when they launch, consumers need to fall in love with their products, and I think that's also saying, because that's again a value-based consumer. They really it's about feeling you really need to love those products. You need to want to go back and buy it, both due to the taste and also to the other values which are associated and communicated around the product.
Exactly. And also very much linked to the sensory, of course, the functionality as well. So looking at a plant-based ice cream, for example, it should, of course, taste good and be creamy, but it could also be something to do with melting properties, with the transportation and shelf life that is also important to look at. And then, of course, we have everything from, making it easy to handle in the production, and it could also be that some customers have specific requirements when it comes to food safety. So these are the, you can say, 6 focus areas which we think that the plant-based fats and oils you choose can make a big difference.
And you can say based on those 6, you really can make as many combination. Almost the sky's the limit when you combine those and you master those. Then you can actually make a lot of differentiation in the final product.
Exactly.
Whether it's an ice cream or a burger or a margarine or whatever it could be.
Exactly. And that is where a whole, you can say, approach with working closely together with our customer comes in, because of course we come with a certain expertise and our customers come with some, so it's about combining
and,
that.
and it's very, very differentiated, because there are so many. When you then go into the plant-based, it could be oat-based, it could be almond-based, where the traditional, there has been one option that has been, for instance, milk. So the world is much more variated. There are many more options, and there we need to know all of those, and therefore we need to be working very closely with our customers to figure out exactly how to make the desired functionality.
And in relation to this, I would like to bring in a question that just came to me from one of the viewers. Do you foresee other or new emerging vegan foods? Now you shouldn't share the most important business secrets that you're working with.
No.
But as you said, you are a co-development company.
Yeah.
You have the ingredients, you have the knowledge from the past. Are there any emerging vegan foods that we can wait for the future?
I think it's important to also figure out what is plant-based food. Because I think it's also something which can be used. You want to put plant-based on the label, and there we are following very much the Plant-Based Food Association definition, which are Nevin.
Yeah, so I think the definition right now is where you naturally would have an animal-derived ingredient, and then you replace that with a plant-based option. But I think if we look at, we have talked a lot about the ice cream and dairy and meat. I think what we also can see slowly upcoming is plant-based fish and seafood.
Yeah.
Doesn't
Chicken,
exist that much today, but it's
pork.
exactly.
You want to have imitation of everything.
Yeah.
You can, in practical, I think 5 years ahead, you see a plant-based version on everything which is animal derived today. You can also see within the chocolate, you have the milk chocolate where you use milk proteins. There is also room, but it's just important to remember that it has to have a rooting in an animal derived ingredient before you really can use the plant-based in the right manner. Else it would be false and misleading.
Yeah.
And in relation to this, another viewer asked, where do AAK see the growth in this market? And is this trend only a European trend, a North American trend? Is it worldwide? Where do you see this market going?
Yeah, I think as mentioned by the viewer, Europe and US, of course. And I would say that here it's no longer a trend, but it's getting more established.
It's a way of living. It's
more
not
way
a
of
trend,
living.
it's part of. Many of the children born today will say that the normal way of having a milk is for instance, an oat milk. So that's established. But I think we have seen just in Brazil, we have projects ongoing now within the plant-based meat area. Of course, they are more or less sophisticated. You have these very constructed types of food, Impossible Burger and so on in the US. Whereas when you look more into South America, it's more basic, but still it is marketed due to the fact that people want to eat more plant-based. And that we actually have seen in a consumer study we did last year, that no matter where you are, there is a desire for consumers to include more plants in their diet. And that's where it all starts, because it starts with the awareness of adding more plants. Then it can be that you choose more vegetable in the beginning, but then suddenly also go and look for options which are made, where you find a burger made with plant-based ingredients.
So even though it's, you could say, biggest in Europe and US, we see it also coming more and more in Asia, China, and as Henning mentioned, Brazil. And I think this is also a lot to do with Alex and Anna and their generations, because they're very active online. So you also connect with people around the globe. So it's also easy to spread.
It's truly global.
Exactly. So I think we will see it much more.
And now we are receiving a lot of questions, and that's great. Would you expect new findings on research on the dietary benefits from plant-based food to convince the consumers that plant-based is the right way?
Yeah, I think you'll see a lot of studies. We see a lot of things ongoing now to see that. So it would be obvious that there will be studies looking into that. I think we already see life cycle assessments within the area of sustainability. So it is a fact driven, and the producers are also very keen on that. Whatever they put on the label needs to be proof. Because that's the flip side of the coin. When you communicate with Alec and Anas, you need to really be sure about it. What you're communicating is actually also the truth. So you'll see, I think, in all these benefits you communicate, more and more studies and research to back all of this up.
Yeah.
So for sure.
One more question.
Yeah.
Which role could AAK play in co-creating new products and maybe a new business case together with a small business?
Yeah.
Which role would AAK, being a little practical, which role would AAK take in this cooperation? Would you typically be part of a project? Would you invest in upcoming companies? What is your role in this co-development or co-creation?
The co-development is very much where we go out to our customers, meet them, and sit down and talk. And figure out what are they looking for, what are their needs, how do they see their part of the market, and then of course we have a dialogue on how we can help out. And of course it's one part is the final fat solution, but it's also everything around that, how to formulate, how the interaction are with other ingredients and all of that. So that is a more specific customer situation. But of course there's a lot of other areas where I think we see we need to be very open also towards what are the input, what are we in need of having in being there tomorrow also. So this is also a very, very, very good trigger for us to stay on top of things.
Yeah.
So for sure we are looking at that, but that's not what I can expand on here. But for sure when we meet with our customers, we really try to relate closely with them.
Great. And I can see time flies.
Yeah.
Do you have any final remarks to put in this topic?
I think what we can say is all the efforts and everything that we do around plant-based foods, we will, you can say, gather under our new brand for plant-based foods, AAK Planet, and we will. You will hear more about it in the coming weeks, but it's basically everything that we have talked about, that working really truly together with our customers to develop these great tasting plant-based foods, because of course we want the consumers to buy them again, but also having in mind the love for both people, plants and the planet, so also the health and the sustainability part, and of course our history within the plants. And the plant-based oils and fats. So this will be our, you can say, platform for the plant-based foods.
Yeah, going forward.
Yeah. Then I think time is short, and we will answer the remaining questions that you have sent to us directly to your email. Thank you all for asking and engaging with your perspectives and views on this very hot topic. Once again, thank you to Nevin and to Henning for sharing your insights.
To Malmö.
Yeah.
Oh, it's great being here. If you watching still have some questions, please send them to us and we will make sure to answer you afterwards. We will be back with the next Food Innovation Talks in 3 weeks' time, where we will visit the head office of Too Good To Go, who will bring insight on food waste from a true food waste warrior. You can register in our online calendar. If you want to stay updated on news and activities from Danish Food Cluster, you can go to our website and sign up for our regular newsletter. This was all for now. Once again, thank you for watching. See you.
Thank you for watching this Food Innovation Talk presented by Danish Food Cluster. You can always find this episode on our website. Hope to see you soon and have a nice day.